The lone wolf is the ultimate strategist. He dedicates his immense focus to dissecting the external world, predicting the actions of manipulators, analyzing systemic failures, and mapping the chaos of the herd. He is the master of observation. But the ultimate danger to any sovereign power is not the visible enemy, it is the internal blind spot. The most powerful man is often the last to look inward. The Sigma male develops his code of sovereignty as a necessary defense, often forged by a brutal past, the forges of adversity. Yet, the very shields he built to survive external chaos become the walls that limit his growth and distort his understanding of himself. The solutions he created, detachment, hyper-independence, logic, have now become the source of new, self-imposed struggles. You, the lone wolf, must engage in the highest form of strategic intelligence, radical self-analysis. The truth you must confront is that your strength, left unchecked, has created a set of profound internal misunderstandings. Today, for the Solitude Scroll, we are dissecting the greatest internal threat to your mission. We will reveal the 7 crucial truths Sigma males don't understand about themselves, the profound blind spots that are placing a silent, invisible ceiling on your potential and your peace. This is the blueprint for the final, necessary act of self-mastery. The blind spot law. The price of sovereignty. The root of every Sigma blind spot is the law of asymmetrical focus. The Sigma focuses 99% of his energy outward, on strategy and defense, and reserves only 1% for introspection. This asymmetrical focus guarantees external success but creates internal liabilities. Every strength is simply a strategic adaptation that, when taken to an extreme, becomes a weakness. The cure is not to dismantle the strength, but to install a strategic countermeasure that corrects the internal distortion. Blind spot 1: the misunderstanding of solitude. The Sigma believes, my solitude is my absolute, unshakable strength, guaranteeing my purity and focus. The reality, solitude can become unseen stagnation. Solitude is necessary for cognitive clarity, gift 10, and deep work, but the prolonged absence of high-value friction creates a critical cognitive trap. Without the equal, the counsel, to provide objective, external critique and competitive pressure, weakness to counter, the Sigma risks perfecting a system that is internally flawless but externally obsolete. His inner scorecard becomes isolated, and he begins to judge his current performance against his own past, not the rapidly evolving external standard of true mastery. The strategic cost, the ceiling on potential. The Sigma, trapped in his perfect, quiet system, fails to realize that the lack of challenge prevents the next necessary phase of growth. He believes he is scaling when he is actually plateauing, resulting in slow, comfortable, and predictable growth rather than exponential success. The countermeasure, structured friction. The Sigma must schedule non-negotiable external reality checks, weakness to counter. These brief, high-stakes interactions with a mentor, the catalyst, or a trusted equal are designed solely to introduce necessary friction, identify blind spots, and violently disrupt the comfort of stagnation. Blind spot 2: the misunderstanding of detachment. The Sigma believes, my emotional detachment is total immunity to external chaos and manipulation. The reality, detachment is a vulnerability deficit. The unseen shield, gift 2, built in the forge of emotional detachment, forge 3, is a powerful defense. However, the Sigma fails to realize that this shield often makes him incapable of necessary emotional investment in his high-value relationships. He struggles with vulnerability deficit, weakness 5, confusing emotional access with surrender. The fear of being controlled prevents him from engaging in the one human act necessary to sustain a counsel or a partnership: controlled, mutual vulnerability. The strategic cost: relational failure and profound loneliness. The inability to share the classified data of his inner world, Secret 13:11, creates a silent, deep chasm between him and the few people he trusts. He unintentionally pushes away assets by treating them with the same functional logic he applies to the chaotic public. He sacrifices the immense strength of a genuine bond for the false safety of distance. The countermeasure: strategic disclosure. The Sigma must reframe vulnerability not as a passive surrender, but as a strategic investment. He must dedicate effort to articulating his internal world, the empathy data input, weakness 12 counter, to those who have earned his trust, viewing it as crucial maintenance for his inner circle infrastructure. Blind spot 3, the misunderstanding of hyperindependence. The Sigma believes, hyperindependence is my ultimate source of control and ensures maximum efficiency. The reality: hyperindependence creates the inability to delegate. The forge of self-reliance, Forge 1, taught the Sigma that relying on others is a high-risk liability, weakness 7. He fails to realize that this past lesson has capped his future potential. His absolute conviction that no one can do it as well as I can translates into the inability to delegate, weakness 8. The strategic cost: the control ceiling. The Sigma's mission cannot scale beyond the limits of his own time and energy. He remains perpetually stuck in the execution phase, performing low-value tasks that should be automated or delegated. He sacrifices exponential growth for singular perfection, guaranteeing that his potential is never multiplied. The countermeasure: the calculated loss strategy. The Sigma must intentionally delegate small, non-critical tasks, viewing the inevitable initial flaws not as failures, but as the strategic purchase of future time. He must accept the temporary loss of quality as the necessary investment required to break his growth ceiling. Blind spot 4, the misunderstanding of logic. The Sigma believes, logic and objective data are the only relevant variables for system success. The reality: logic ignores emotional labor blindness. The Sigma's reliance on cold logic, the sovereign self-critic, trait 3, makes him systematically blind to the emotional labor required to maintain any system involving human beings. Allies, partners, employees, weakness 12. He focuses only on the objective output: did the system work, and dismisses the subjective input: was the emotional cost too high? The strategic cost: the attrition of high-value assets. He drives away his most loyal allies not through malice, but through a failure to pay the small, scheduled emotional tax of recognition, validation of their feelings, or simple human connection. He sees emotional needs as noise, data filter, not realizing they are the necessary maintenance input required to keep his human systems running efficiently. The countermeasure: the empathy data input. The Sigma must treat emotional needs as a necessary variable in his strategic equation. He must dedicate scheduled time to observe, the mirror glance, gift 9, and process emotional data, and provide intentional, logical acts of appreciation, viewing it as necessary operational maintenance. Blind spot 5, the misunderstanding of past pain. The Sigma believes, my trauma alchemy is complete, my past pain is fully converted to productive fuel. The reality: past fear still dictates present strategic risk. While the Sigma has successfully converted the narrative of victimhood into unstoppable purpose, Forge 5, he fails to understand that the physiological alarm of past pain still runs in the background. His current strategic caution, his difficulty trusting, his aversion to reliance, is often not pure logic. It is a trauma response that exaggerates risk. The strategic cost, exaggerated risk assessment. The Sigma views every new alliance or opportunity through the lens of past betrayal, ensuring that trust remains a high-risk liability, weakness 7. This chronic exaggeration prevents him from making necessary, high-leverage strategic gambles that require moderate trust. The countermeasure, the recalibration audit. The Sigma must consciously distinguish between data-driven risk, objective proof of danger, and trauma-driven fear, subjective alarm. He must use his inner scorekeeper to separate the logical lesson, e.g., vet all contracts for 30 days, from the emotional dogma, e.g., all humans will inevitably betray you. Blind spot 6, the misunderstanding of the public self. The Sigma believes, my strategic interface, public self, is an energy-efficient, seamless mechanism. The reality. The double life creates chronic cognitive fatigue. The Sigma fails to recognize the immense cognitive labor required to constantly maintain the strategic interface, the public self, persona I, the posture of indifference, the filtering of data, and the suppression of the intense inner citadel, persona 2. This continuous performance, even when quiet, is the core cause of the fatigue of hypervigilance, weakness 4. The strategic cost, chronic exhaustion and burnout. The constant need to be on prevents true mental rest. The friction of the double life ensures the Sigma is perpetually taxing his system, leading to burnout and vulnerability to external stress. He sacrifices his health and focus for the appearance of unshakable calm. The countermeasure, sovereign decompression. The Sigma must schedule non-negotiable sensory deprivation, weakness 4 counter, blocks, hours where the interface is completely shut down. He must define a safe space, the citadel, where no performance is required, allowing the intense private self to exist without the tax of external monitoring. Blind spot 7, the misunderstanding of perfection. The Sigma believes, perfectionism is a virtue necessary to maintain my sovereign standards and avoid critical failure. The reality, perfectionism is analysis paralysis. The intense drive to perfect the plan, the recursive thought loop, and adhere to the sovereign self-critic, trait 3, ultimately leads to analysis paralysis, weakness 1. The Sigma fails to understand that in the real world, the opportunity cost of delay is far greater than the minor flaws in a quick execution. The strategic cost, momentum lost. The Sigma loses high leverage opportunities to men who were 80% ready but possessed the imperfect action bias. His fear of the criticism that comes with imperfection outweighs his drive for timely success. He sacrifices speed for certainty, guaranteeing he remains technically proficient but strategically late. The countermeasure, the momentum mandate. The Sigma must formally adopt the imperfect action bias, weakness 1 counter. He must view timely execution as a non-negotiable metric on his inner scorecard and accept that 80% executed today is always superior to 100% perfected never. He must use the fear of imperfection as fuel to force the first, necessary step. Conclusion. The final act of sovereignty. The Sigma male is the ultimate strategist, but his most important conquest is not external. It is the final, brutal act of turning his immense intelligence upon his own internal operating system. These 7 blind spots are the hidden costs of your sovereignty, the liabilities created when you push your greatest strengths into the extreme. Your duty is clear. You must use the trauma alchemy of your past not just to fuel your mission, but to shine a harsh, honest light on your present internal flaws. The final act of sovereignty is not defining the world, it is defining yourself without the distortion of your past pain or your defensive programming. If this deep dive resonated with you, if you are ready to confront the ultimate blind spot and install the necessary countermeasures, then it is time to make a commitment. Hit that like button, subscribe to the Solitude Scroll, and drop a comment below and tell me which of the 7 blind spots is the most immediate threat to your mission right now.